executed, and then his followers believe, in the words of an angel, raised from the dead on Easter morning.
Right, he is not here. He prophesied, though, that the temple would be destroyed. And in fact, it was in 70 of the Common Era, completely destroyed by the Romans to put down a Jewish rebellion. Never again to be rebuilt. The temple was never rebuilt after that.
And you have to put those words in the context of first century Palestine. Jesus spoke, as many Jews of that time spoke, as if they were approaching the end of times. And the early followers of Jesus remembered his quotations, the words he said, and truly believed they were living at the end of history. And when he talked about destroying the temple and rebuilding it, he might have been speaking metaphorically,
about
he might
himself.
have speaking symbolically, but certainly when the temple was destroyed, people who remembered that that was part of the growing Jesus canon said, wow, he said this was going to happen. The Jews of Israel were scattered. The governance, the priestly functions of Jerusalem were destroyed and broken to bits, never to be reconstituted, well, at least not for another 2,000 years. And the Jews begin their long alienation from that part of the world.
But Ray, with the temple gone, is Jerusalem, did it maintain its relevance as the center of Jewish life, as it had once been?
There were a tiny number of Jews who were a constant presence in Jerusalem all through the ensuing centuries. And certainly the location of the temple was a place of constant devotion, of longing, of periodically through the year of mourning, where you would wail, shred your garments.
This is the Western
bemoan
Wall.
the loss of the temple. And it began a new age in Judaism theologically, because temple Judaism was a very specific thing, that the priest was there in the temple doing certain rites, saying certain prayers. The Holy of Holies had been located there. And once the temple is destroyed, Judaism becomes a religion that's able to be based wherever there's a Jew with a Torah. You don't need the temple in quite the same way anymore. The teaching is handed down through generations of rabbis, sages, and scholars, and wherever there's a Jew with a book is a temple, in effect.
But it still plays a very major psychological role in the Jewish religion today, does it not?
Absolutely. And certainly, if you look at the accounts of the Six-Day War, when a Jewish army takes over what had been in Jordanian hands, the old city, they immediately put on their prayer shawls, they wrapped their phylacteries, their tefillin around their arms and their head, and prayed at that wall. I mean, it's the only continually existing part of the old temple. So really, it's if Judaism has a headquarters, that's it.
About 300 years after Christ, the Roman Emperor Constantine converts to Christianity. He ends the Roman persecution of the Christians. What happens to Jerusalem at that point?
Well, at that point, Christians are able to, in effect, come out of hiding, and a persecuted religion becomes a tolerated one, and even functionaries in the Roman civil service, in the extended governing arm of the empire, start to be Christians. So Jerusalem becomes a place of pilgrimage, a place where pilgrimage is understood to be part of the weave of the place, and there are shipping lines that get pilgrims to the Eastern Mediterranean.
But there's also the attempt to find the holy sites of Christianity.
Well, once you get there, you want to know where it all happened. And converted Christian Helena, the mother of Emperor Constantine, later Saint Helena, starts locating, with the help of local priests and bishops, the major sites so that pilgrims would have a place to go, not just enter a city that's largely still in ruin and say, well, we guess it's over here, we guess it's over there. They tried to take, in effect, a gospel map and press it down onto the city and say, okay, when we come, this is where we'll
These are
go
the
to
places.
pray. These are the places we'll
Well, one
revere.
major place is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is believed the tomb of Jesus was, or the site of the tomb and the site of the crucifixion. You've been there. Describe it for us.
It is an amazing place. Pieces of it date from several different centuries. It's a mishmash of architectural styles. It's covered in beautiful iconography and gorgeous temple lamps that are lit and burning all over the place, ranks of candles. The city is sort of grown in around it, so it's not like many churches are today, sort of standing separate and alone with light able to pour in through great big windows. This is very much a 5th century building. It's dark, it's quiet, the stones are cool, even when the plaza outside is 110 degrees. And to watch people come through the door and fall to their knees and then experience this place as a pilgrim is a very moving thing. And as you walk through the space yourself, you hear smatterings of half a dozen different languages as priests and guides from all over the world bring groups in and explain to them what it is that they're seeing. The Byzantine emperor believed that this was the navel of the world, N-A-V-E-L, that literally this was the umbilicus, the place where the belly button of planet Earth was, because everything that was to happen after that in the Christian story comes out of the events really in this couple of 100 square feet. It's quite an amazing place.
Well, in the year, we're moving along to the 7th century, a man named Muhammad was born in Mecca, which is in the Arabian Peninsula. The religion of Islam is born. Why is Jerusalem important to Muslims?
Jerusalem is important to Muslims not as one of the 2 primary cities, Mecca and Medina is, but as part of the Muslim story because Muhammad takes his night flight where he gets a vision of heaven, or literally goes to heaven, from the Temple Mount, from the rock that sits underneath the Dome of the Rock, from the same place where Jews believe Abraham was ready to sacrifice Isaac.
So really now all the religions
really, I mean,
are colliding here.
There's a lot of psychic energy focused on that place. It is an amazing place. And sitting on a horse, Muhammad either flies up to heaven or heaven comes to earth and he's able to see it in a dream. But the traditions of Islam call that place the farthest mosque. Doesn't call it Al-Quds, doesn't say Jerusalem literally, but says the farthest mosque, which at that time was in Jerusalem. And so tradition over time fixed on the Temple Mount as the place from which Burak jumped into heaven and from where Muhammad took his night flight. So it's a pretty important place, and when you're there on Friday afternoon to see prayers and preaching, it is jammed with the Muslim faithful of Jerusalem.